recorded. Robin, are you there?
I'm here. I can't see anybody's faces, but I don't know if it's possible to move the computer.
All right.
Turn her up a little bit.
I'm gonna move over here.
Can you send out? He needs a dongle, I think, so he can go on the
USB,
screen.
can you go
Are you there now?
USB 3
I am.
Can you see anybody?
I can see the tops of Mark and his head.
All right. Now,
There we go. Hi.
USB.
Okay, thanks.
It's an Apple thing.
oh, are you an Apple?
I'm not, but the computer is. I'm sorry, that was a little.
Well, I got an Apple dongle right here.
That one you just tried.
Yeah, little dongle.
Use that for a speaker.
I have to make a big decision before Senor Trump puts another 25% embargo on Apples as to whether
That's the
my
brand.
almost 6-year-old computer is
I know I have one in my house, but
upgrading
it's
or
not-
not.
Oh.
And weights try to.
Let's try that, yeah.
He's gone and
Yeah.
he'll take all the.
Yeah.
They're gonna be
Let's
assembled
just
in,
hope that is
Right,
what's
it's
gonna
just-
happen.
Just sit down later and I'll.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Do you have a
Honestly,
dongle
this
for
is
it?
incredible.
Okay, because here's mine. I didn't know he was an Apple.
I'd be able to
Yeah.
make this work.
I know somebody that actually,
It's
after
different.
Bush was,
It's the bread and milk.
they moved to Canada. They moved to Vancouver.
Who did?
This friend of mine, who after W was elected.
Moved to Canada?
Yeah, that was bad enough.
That was
See,
actually-
this technology stuff.
Oh.
Florida.
No signal. I wonder if I need to do something.
It just takes a second.
We are being
There you are.
recorded.
Yes, we're
Just
being
so you know.
recorded.
Okay.
Colorized.
Now, were these your numbers? Is
Yeah,
that-
that's what,
So what you're looking at right now is my homework. So those are my
Okay,
numbers.
those are your numbers.
Oh, okay.
But what was in the spreadsheet that got circulated were just placeholders, and the
Right.
idea was that you would put in your own numbers.
Oh.
Right.
that's
And
what.
I apologize if I didn't communicate that clearly.
And here comes Mary. Mary, so Robin can see you. Do you want to sit over there?
But I'm gonna hide
Robin's
this
on-
one until we get there. 'cause I
Robin's
don't
on
want-
Zoom,
Now,
Oh.
is it your intent, Mark, to enter our total scores
if necessary.
so that
So,
we can get a final accurate tally of?
I think we just need to discuss it for a few minutes and it's gonna be clear, honestly.
Okay, if everybody is.
Something that could be done would
influenced
be,
by
we
emails.
take each person's score sheet, put it into the same workbook, and create a summary tab that adds everything up and comes up with a
Yep.
composite score.
Yep.
That is something that could be done.
Or,
Or maybe we take a quick pass because maybe that isn't necessary. If, was it a straw vote or what? You know, if we do a quick around and everyone agrees, then maybe
then we don't need to.
the math isn't.
I'm
as
an
necessary.
archivist, so I would favor
Yeah.
emailing you my spreadsheet.
So-
and just having some, or whoever. does
Yeah,
the
have it collected
repository,
somewhere. I
is
agree
have
with
it
you.
collected somewhere.
I'm not opposed to that, but
If
maybe we
not
do that
together.
outside the meeting.
Right.
I'd hate to have everyone take up the
You could,
time.
yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I'm
could
not
do that.
volunteering you necessarily. so-
I have no problem doing it. But,
Okay.
The only thing I would say to that is, well, but I agree with you. I think we should have it somewhere, a record of it.
For history.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, I would like some discussion because I have my little scores here, but I could hear you say something and I think, you're right. I'm changing that from a 4 to a 5 or 2 to 3.
Right.
So I don't necessarily want to be, after a,
Sure.
sharing of ideas, I don't want to be bound by old numbers. So
Sure.
I definitely want to,
Well, let's quickly go through
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
items.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, brief report out on the Fall Festival. 9 people signed up for the energy audit. It's gone to Mark Schneller, so he says, I've got it. The kids came around and did a
So
lot.
Fill out a little, so they did the little
fun.
card game, and then they came over and filled out what they would do to decrease their energy use, so.
And
they're
I had
very
a chance to
enthusiastic.
have a quiet conversation with 2 members of the school board to urge them to get on board and have the school district, have PICO do the free energy audit.
Yes, please.
And they both said, well, that's a no-brainer, so we'll see what happens. And it was a sunny day, it did not rain.
They're on what, the building
Hot.
maintenance committee, or whatever.
It's
And the land fertilizer.
The facilities committee. So I wanted to let you know about Saturday, October 19th, which is the Chester County Clean Energy Open House Tour. And also pass around this card because it's pretty slick advertisement. We were invited by Paula Klein, who's in charge of the Chester County, and that's, I think it's 6 communities that have finally gone together for their thing. I think it's the 6th or 7th of December. They have some kind of a St. Nicholas parade in Westchester, and they've invited us as a team to come and be in costume and march in their parade. I'm gonna listen to a meeting tomorrow night while they prepare, and I would like some idea if you think this is a good idea, a dumb idea. Here, I'll pass this around to Dan.
When is that
It's
event
that
you-
first Saturday in December, which is about the 6th.
When you said costume, I assumed October, but okay.
Yeah.
So my thought immediately was, having watched the strikeout, somebody had an ice cream cone with the world sitting on it and crepe paper around it, which was the melting of the world. And I thought, that would be easy because we already have the world.
Yes,
And
we
you
do.
get some of that corrugated cardboard that comes in a sort of a flexible sheet, and that becomes the ice cream cone. So, is anybody game for this? They're gonna ask teams from every county who is doing this.
I mean, I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff.
You're loud. Okay, I will follow it.
I'll let you know, but
And Tredyffrin passed ready for 100. Lansdowne is about to pass ready for 100. Concord Township, which happens to be in Delaware County, is gearing up, as is Nether Providence, Upper Providence, I don't know, one of those townships, and also Newtown Township. So we're not as isolated as we were.
Good.
So the main work of the night,
Swarthmore, Sarah,
What?
also Swarthmore's,
yeah,
they're taking it up soon, right?
yeah, they passed it.
Okay.
So, and Bill Saby's become a good friend. He's in charge of Montgomery County. And he asked me what we were doing, and I told him about Penn Bid, and I find it very interesting that Montgomery County is going to do it by Penn Bid, coming out of Ambler, who uses Penn Bid all the time. So that was nice that what we did stimulated somebody else to do the same thing. So we'll see what happens with that. So Robin and I are not directly voting, right, Robin? So we want you guys to tell us where you are initially so we can start some conversation. And I made a mini spreadsheet just with the names of the people and the 4 proposals, just so we get some idea. Do we have consensus, or where does the discussion start?
Start with Mary.
Oh, goody. I'm just so distracted by the big news this afternoon.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. I had Practical Energy #1, close behind Protogen, Mondre 3rd, Krug 4th, distant 4th.
And what was it about practical energy that put it above?
Well,
Progen?
But put it back, they were close. They were close the way an apple is close to an orange. They were very different, but they're both really yummy, so they scored high. The enthusiasm that came through, in addition to having all the elements and the expertise and the what have you, they came through in Practical Energies. I don't really know that it made it into any of my number calculations, but that was one of the things that really impressed me about them. They seemed psyched. They seemed that they could really energize a community as opposed to a business or something. Proto seemed to be really strong on technical data, grid, numbers. They seem to really have that aspect of it, sort of just the facts, man, you know. So I thought they were very good, but I really liked the energy and passion and relatability of whatever, practical
energy.
But otherwise, they were pretty close. So, one was a little stronger on one thing than another, and then the other one was a little bit stronger than the other, but they were pretty close. The third and fourth choices, I thought, kind of failed by comparison. Mark?
She stole my answer.
Sorry.
Good.
So I thought 3 of the 4 really showed a visible effort to try to address the RFP.
Yes.
And actually read it and said, we're going to tailor our response to answer what you asked. And I felt one of the companies did not appear to put any of that kind of effort in,
You might as well tell us which one.
which is fine. So my scoring is the same, in the same order. I was kind of, Mondre, I think, has a lot of experience. I think one of my concerns with them was that they're used to working at maybe the Philadelphia or the Pittsburgh level. And I'm not sure how they would really understand how to navigate the township, municipality level. So that was a concern. I think, they have a highly qualified staff. And so that's Mondre, who I would have placed third. Protogen, I did have a struggle between Practical and Protogen, and that struggle even continues now, because I think they each kind of bring different strengths, and I agree totally with the points you made. They're the same as mine. I think one appeal of Practical Energy Solutions is that, especially with one of the principals being a mayor in this exact same geographic region, I think there's a technical component to this plan, whoever writes this for us, but I think there's no invention or technology required. I think a big part of this is going to be political, in creating a plan that engages stakeholders and convinces folks that this is the right thing to do and it's an achievable goal. So I think what I would call the political, or the understanding of how to collaborate with other,
And just getting it.
and getting
Just getting
what
it.
we need,
Yeah,
in Radnor.
yeah.
Well, she's active in this county.
Exactly.
She was very impressive,
So.
just as a human being.
Yeah, so my scoring was Practical Energy first, Protogen second, Mondre third, Krug last. A concern I have about Practical Energy Solutions is, looking at the number that the price that they're bidding, it was the lowest, and comparing it to the others, I was thinking either they really, really understand what we're asking for and they think they can get the answer really efficiently, or I'm concerned that there might be some risk. Can they really do what we're asking them to do within the
I
funding?
wondered about that too. I thought, wow, can they really do it for that? But then boy, we are really on the same
well.
page. I mean, they did half their job already in this.
Well, that's what I was looking at the
Right.
Delaware Valley Planning Commission.
I mean,
like,
it's
Radnor's
like,
already
saying, let's not
profiled.
even hire
That's
anybody.
right.
Let's just
Right.
use this.
Yeah.
I mean, this was amazing.
They
This-
really
this
know
actually
where the data
made my
is.
day reading this.
And they understand our problem. We're not
Yes.
going to be paying them to come up to speed on our
So you
problem.
may be right. They may really feel confident that they really know the lay of the land. They seem to be more focused in what we're looking for, as opposed to just having the skill sets. Like technically, we understand this, we understand the grid, we understand power, we understand this, we understand marketing, we understand financial stuff. But they sort of get. I keep saying they seem to get it.
Yes.
But so yeah.
I will now
Sorry.
pass the talk.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
okay, I have a little different take on it, that my priority is that we don't just pay thousands of dollars for a item like that. This is only as good as it's off the shelf and it's actually going to be implemented. And I've been on township planning committees before, and we've come up with these great documents. What
And
I
it sits
thought
on the shelf.
what I thought, I was very impressed by Protogen's. They have 6 meetings with us. They
Okay.
take us to the commissioners, they take us to the stakeholders. They're gonna have 10 stakeholder interviews. They have focus group meetings. I mean, they are holding our hands. That is partly their price. I didn't see that in Practical Energy. I mean, they
Right.
said,
I think
yeah,
too.
we'll provide you, it's important to have education in the community, but they don't even explain specifically how they're going to help us do that. I don't think they are. I think they're gonna produce a document.
Well, in fact, they say that.
Yeah, they do. They say
They
that.
do public education at the ETP level, but not at the outset of their work, bringing people
Right.
awareness to the crisis and our vision for addressing it. They're not helping us with
Right.
the early
Well, I think that's
education,
that's
except we
a
pay
big
them.
difference in the price,
Pay them.
honestly, because the timing that it takes to actually engage with us, and I thought Protogen was way over on top of that one. You know, they are working with us, they're dialoguing, they're willing to go out in the community, and honestly, that, I think they'll all come up with a good document. That it's not, anyway,
No, those are all
Well,
fair
you know,
points.
I agree. I was very impressed with their details, their approach.
Yes.
They laid it out there,
Right.
real as opposed to a
Right.
crew that said, "Yeah, we'll do whatever you said."
Right.
Right. How
Yeah.
much you want to embellish a little?
Yeah.
So I thought they were good in that, and then I looked at their experience and credentials, and I saw a real mismatch
Yes.
between the two. I thought, well, I read their proposal. I thought, this is a well done proposal. They're saying all the right stuff. Details, and I thought, and then I looked at who they were and what their experience was and what they had done in the past, and it didn't. I almost seemed surprised that they could come up with such a good
Yes.
proposal for given their background.
Yes. Yes.
I had the same
master
impression.
electrician is the.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
master. I thought
Yeah.
I'm looking for like where's the MIT guy or the
Well-
Polytechnic Institute or where's the whatever. Maybe and I don't need to be a snob about it. You could be Thomas Edison and never
Right.
get a university degree. So that wasn't it so much. But I looked down the line and then I looked closely at what they had done, and they had a lot of what they had done was again the more technical.
Yes.
Services rather than the community planning. Like I said, again, I'm baffled that they could generate such a good proposal
Yeah.
and really hit all the terms and gave us everything that we wanted to see and hear. You're right.
I agree, their
right.
technical approach I thought was very strong.
And I also liked their reality check stuff. They were not into fairy tale land. They said, well, you can't really do this, or there's limited
I thought
opportunity.
that was-
They
You're
kind of
talking
were
about
very
which one?
honest right up front.
Protogen.
Protogen,
Yeah, to
me
say,
too. Me
forget
too.
about this, you're not gonna be able to do
Right.
that. I thought, well, all right, hit us with it.
And they seem to, but to me, they really seem to know how to handle this on a local level. It is about holding hands. It's time.
Yeah, they-
Yeah,
It's
they're working
going
with
before the
Quaker
Board
Town,
of
I think.
Commissioners. It's selling this product, really. And that's gonna be a big part of this job.
So who were your second,
anyway,
third?
So
Just
Protogen
curious.
was my first, Practical was my second.
Okay.
And the other two, we're not spending $80,000 on this.
No, we'll never get
And,
one.
and they were gonna come up with this document. I mean, does it really take, a scientific degree? I mean, how involved is this to put a proposal together? I don't know. Do you have to be MIT material?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I'm sort
I'm
of.
sorry, are you talking about the proposal or
I'm
what-
just,
or the?
I'm,
or-
I
You
think
mean you're talking
about their credentials?
Yeah, the credentials are great, but,
Yeah.
can they sell it?
And that's what I liked about Practical, is they just,
Well,
I could see sitting in a room with them going, yeah.
yeah, but are we gonna be able to sit in a room? I don't know that they have
Well,
any
we may
time.
have to
Oh,
talk,
yeah.
they
Oh,
seemed
yeah,
almost a
that's
little
practical,
confused
yeah.
about
Oh,
that,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Well, they didn't put it straight out like we got into.
Yeah, you're right,
because
you're right,
They told us how many meetings we're gonna have.
Yes.
And,
you're right.
You're making
it
good points.
costs a lot to
And I
have
agree.
somebody come.
I agree with you, and that's where I struggled, like I'm leaning towards practical, but I am concerned about what they bid and whether they can do what they say within what they bid, unless
Yeah.
they're putting in, I don't.
So it does say under their approach to the project, under step 1, it's conduct a kickoff meeting with PDS team and Radnor Township Green team and staff. And they do, in their budget, they do identify meetings. I can't find the
Well,
budget
I've got
in here,
them,
but-
practical, identified 3 meetings, and that they would communicate with the Chamber of Commerce.
Well,
No,
Well, we
that's
don't
it.
have a chamber
Do
of
they,
commerce.
but, anyway, that was, I thought, sort of way out in left
Business
field.
association.
And then, and Protogen has 6 meetings plus up to 10 stakeholder meetings.
But if we went back to practical under that little clause they had at the end, it said, hey, more meetings, we can discuss it.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to know how, and now we're getting into a dollars battle,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
isn't
What it
really,
costs.
I hope that's not the deciding factor if they're close. But, okay, maybe they add on another 10 or even 20, they're still low bid, or 30, then they're tied. Then it's really all on the merits rather than the dollars. So it
Well,
would be
can
interesting
they-
to know, because I suspect they would and could do it if we asked them to, but I'm not sure they understood exactly what we were asking for. I don't know
Well,
why they
yeah,
Well,
I mean,
maybe they
so-
don't understand the
so
process.
let's-
It's like,
Yeah, if I
Let's
can
let
make a motion.
Dan put his
Yeah,
in,
make
and
a
Ruth
pass.
put his
I think
in.
these are all great points.
Okay.
I think other than Protogen, that Protogen was not afraid of the fact that RFP said 6 meetings, period. They're basically proposing what they think is best, and hopefully it's based on experience. The problem I have with Protogen is they are technical. They're very good at that, I bet. My concern is that they may not either have engaged in the vision that Practical Solutions has at a whole community level. They're very good at addressing a building or a building complex. Evolve.
You're thinking,
Well,
that was the
it's-
partner of Krug.
That's
Evolve-
correct.
Okay, yeah, so Protogen hasn't, I don't see them having experience at a municipal level dealing across the board with a variety of stakeholders. And again, their CV seems a little thin, given that there is going to be a variety of challenges in this process. So experience in communication both with the public and with shareholders, regulators, et cetera, it's going to be critical. I put practical first for the same reasons you guys did. They have the vision, and they're excited. Mondra I put second only because, regardless of the 80,000, is that they're very strong in analytics. And I think a lot of selling this to stakeholders in the public will be showing the cost savings and the environmental benefits. That's also their weakness. I think that they're doing analytics for very big picture stuff. I mean, for the county of Delaware, or I don't recall exactly, but they do big stuff. They're not working at the muni level like Practical is. I put them as a close second to Practical. Protogen a little further third, and then Krug at the bottom. So I would say the one side that Practical is coming short on, as you said, is the presumed lack of flexibility in number of meetings with stakeholders, and they may feel constrained by the RFP. Also, the fact they're not doing engagement with the public upfront with education and outreach, except for an added fee. So I would say those two questions, as we just mentioned, are worthy to put to them if we're really interested.
Ruth?
So, I rated, and again, Practical Solutions and Protogen were very close. I rated Practical Energy Solutions higher. Mondre and Krug, I just, I didn't feel like Krug addressed the deliverables, and Mondre addressed a few of them, but not all of them. So I just, and plus Mondre was $80,000 plus expenses, which I don't know what that means.
I missed that part.
I didn't get past the 80.
So, at any rate, and I really went back and forth, and I studied these, and I had them side by side, and I think that, well, a couple things led me to Practical Energy Solutions. One is all of that documentation that they have, and all of these are things that you can do. I mean, there's your education. I mean,
in a way, they already have the content.
right.
God, I was just
They
loving
do.
reading this.
Yeah, and so, and also, I had less difficulty reading this proposal than I did any other. So I'm thinking, they're going to be talking to lay people. If they can talk to me and have me understand what they're
Yeah.
saying.
That was one of my problems with
Yeah.
whatever they are, the
Protogen.
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 Again, it was like, whoa, even I'm having a hard time reading this.
Right. A lot of jargon.
And that may be very important.
Oh,
So
On the
public-
communication end,
Yes.
yes.
It'll
A lot
be
of-
Well, even
posted,
with us, I
so they'll be able to
mean,
see.
So I'm looking at the approach to projects, and so it does say, so in step 1, there's a kickoff meeting. And then in step 2, it says provide a quick survey to township officials. I don't know what that means. I hope that doesn't mean a written survey, please fill this out, because we always get so many surveys, who fills them out. To gain your input on key stakeholders in your community. So we already kind of know what the key stakeholders are. And then further down in that, it says generate a list of proposed stakeholders and a detailed plan for conducting the focus groups for the Green Team and Township review approval, and then conduct the stakeholder focus group meetings with the number of meetings determined by the number and type of participants. What they don't have in here is the one-to-one meetings, and that's what Protogen had, was one-to-one meetings with the, and then they did say, the total, with one meeting for step 2, the total was 4,260. With 2 meetings, it was 5,000. So, if you're figuring adding on, an additional $800 per meeting, that's not very much.
I just looked as you were talking. If you double what Practical Energy bid, you're still less than what Protogen did.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And I really, the other thing that I really like about Protogen is that they've done a lot, or not Protogen, but
Applied energy.
Practical
Practical energy.
is that they have done a lot in Delaware County.
Yes.
Yes.
So they really know, they know the lay of the land, at least in Delaware County. And I did like the person that we would be most in contact with.
Diane Heron.
Diane Heron.
Who's the mayor of Westchester.
Yeah. But
No, I don't know her, but I can tell you that the Westchester group was really bummed that they couldn't invite her to respond
Yeah.
because of
Oh,
the
yes.
conflict.
Yeah.
And she was part of the core that prepared the resolution and the RFP. She's been through every single step as a volunteer participant, but
At our bidders conference, when they all came,
she was
was
there.
she the person that came up and said, "You guys really know what you're asking for"?
Yes,
That was her.
she was.
Well, we mirrored their RFP.
Well,
you
in a
know.
way, it's self-praise.
Yeah.
We stole it from you, no wonder you like it.
That's fair. I'll give her that one.
So Robin, do you have anything to contribute right now?
Well, I guess I'd be happy to share. I did come to kind of different conclusions, so I found Mondre's proposal to be, fundamentally different in depth than the others. was that they were doing a much deeper set of analytics at the front end with their baseline, and also with the development, not just of the, the phased recommendations, but also they're very into verification and tracking greenhouse gas emission reduction. And I mean, that's what they talk about in terms of what they've done with Act 129, which is the, state energy efficiency utility program for energy efficiency. So the verification seems like the big deal. The other thing is that I found it very interesting that they were putting such a deep dive into the stakeholder engagement, with their principal being the lead on that piece of their work, and other staff support. And so I just found it interesting to think of that with the types of stakeholders that we need to try and engage, and it will take a bit of a deep dive, if we're talking to, Mainline Health and Penn Med and
Brandywine.
corporate center, whatever. So to me, it was a fundamentally, different proposal, and, there was a reason for it to be a whole lot more expensive. I really liked Practical Energy Solutions' familiarity with Delaware County. At the same time, they haven't done this kind of plan, which is, it's sort of the whole municipal focus, and with, the kind of goals that we're talking about. So it's a bit of a different animal from what we've done. Protogen had some strong elements, which, but I wasn't sure that I didn't have the same sense that they would deliver. And Krug, of course, seemed to be out of the running. It was, they sort of phoned it in. The one other thing I would note is just, I'm very concerned about the staff depth. I mean, if you look at Practical Energy Solutions, it's a good proposal, but it's a lot for that small group to deliver. And I didn't see on their team somebody with the communications, skills, and that you might want. And Diane's probably great, but she can't be everywhere at one time, particularly she's mayor, and so of Westchester. So I was just that team seemed a bit thin.
What kind of skills was that you said? I just didn't hear what you said.
Communications.
Communication.
In terms of their, both the stakeholder engagement and community engagement. And the only other thing is, certainly I think as we may have discussed last time, but there could be a possibility of going back to one of these firms and asking them to, add or subtract. And, maybe that would end up being part of what we would choose to do, is say, if they're a little bit thin in one place, can they beef that up? In the case of Practical Energy Solutions, it just seemed a little bit concerning that they were noting that they wouldn't be able to support, the educational outreach materials and stuff without an additional charge. So, that's one reason why maybe they're requesting.
Can I ask a question? If you chose Mondo at $80,000, how do you justify choosing the most expensive? We just flat out, we have to go to the commissioners. And I know from experience that they will want to know every reason under the sun why the first, the second, or the third was not chosen. Could we go with another, I won't say which, and say, but here's an element, this is part of the negotiation, this is a part of the element that we think we need, can you include that? And then negotiate a second price or find out what it would cost to. I mean, that's just being absolutely pragmatic. So far, we have 4 Practical Energy one Proto, and one Mondo. So what do we do with that?
So what did Ruth Levy?
Ruth Levy has chosen Practical Energy as her first, Proto as the second, tied with Mondo, she's concerned about the cost, and Krug fourth. So Krug is pretty much out
I
of
think
it.
they're out.
If you
Sounds
want
good.
me to say what I thought, I will say it.
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
I chose Practical Energy first, with Proto-Gen very close behind it. I eliminated Krug, and I thought Mondo was just, it just would not work in Radnor. As much as the in-depth and the verification would be. And the thing I worried about Proto-Gen was a high dependence on using the internet. And I don't think people are
Oh,
going
for
to
the
do
stakeholder
that.
engagement.
For the stakeholder engagement, and I just don't think
I missed that.
it needs to be a face-to-face.
Because one thing I just want to say, I listed them in some order, but the scores were, there was one obvious outlier, but then the rest in my scoring was very close to each other. And so then I used some qualitative, like, that I described to kind of break the tie. I don't know, I guess a question would be, and I don't know if we know, I guess, I don't know what's appropriate under this kind of procurement activity. You know, do we have the freedom to go back to one of them and say, you know, and
That's where we need.
We need
Do they
that
have to-
because
do they have to
we-
rise and fall on the
It's a very
proposal they
delicate
submitted?
situation in
Exactly.
terms of fairness, and, you
Exactly,
know, how come you
exactly.
gave them a second shot or a second bite at the
I'm
apple?
very aware of
I
that.
really don't know
We
this.
would need to talk to Steve.
Absolutely.
process question.
And a process question, and as I said, I invited him to come by Zoom, but he wasn't sure. But that's a question I can go back and ask him, what do we do now?
Process, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering whether he should eyeball these. Could we ask him to eyeball the Practical Energy?
Right.
I
He
mean,
has
he's-
eyeballed them all.
All the proposals.
Okay, yeah, because if there's something, I mean, he sees these all the time, and,
What I heard him say was, you tell me which is your first choice. I will prepare the resolution. You will come before the Board of Commission to say why you chose number one.
He's leaving the choice to us. His position is, I'll do what
okay,
you,
but
the
if he
committee tell me
sees
to do.
something that is, you know, that we're
He-
not seeing,
Then
he
I
would,
think he would say.
come forward.
I,
Yes.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Yeah.
in a very practical sense.
Oh, if he saw us pick Krug, yeah.
If,
Right.
on a very practical sense, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones being the lowest bidder, I think the commissioners would go for it a great deal.
Now, could we, if we are allowed to go back to one of them or more, would it be the aim to address the people who did not pick Practical, to address their concerns about Practical?
That's the process
And-
piece that I need
okay,
to
just
find
wanna
out
make
from
sure
Steve.
if all of us here agree that's what we would do. So bring up your.
That brings Robin
Robin's
into, back
concern
into it.
and Ruth's concern. So yes, we may end up bidding with a bid of 40,000 instead of 32.8.
I'm thinking maybe, I don't know a thing about this kind of stuff at all, but I'm thinking maybe the way they do is they open up the bidding to everybody, asking them the same question. Would you please elaborate more on your community engagement, including whether if you've decided to change it a little bit, what additional cost that would involve?
It may be.
Hint to anybody who didn't do an adequate job there, that they need to do a fuller job. So things I don't suspect would change a whole lot with Protogen, because they did a pretty thorough job. But maybe that's, you know, for those who didn't, Krug, if they even bother to send in anything. And Practical may say, oh, all right, well, they're kind of inviting us to talk about that little thing at the end where we said,
Yes.
if you want more from us. But you make
You've
the
given
opportunity
equal
available to
opportunity to all
everybody.
bidders, absolutely.
And again, I'm just guessing intuitively that that's, if they were gonna do it, that would be the way they would do it. And not just to one individual. But again, I don't know if they're gonna.
Okay, so for example, with Krug, we hear their response, and they say, well, thank you, and then hang up.
Yeah, I mean, they're, you know.
Asking the clarification to all of them is no
Clarification to all of
obligation
them,
to
yeah.
any of them.
Yeah,
It's just,
you know, we invite you to elaborate on your communication thing, blah,
Right.
blah, including any additional costs you foresee if you do additional things that you hadn't proposed initially.
Right.
Everybody gets the same opportunity.
We would anticipate entering into dialogue, though, with the one that has the best answers to our concerns.
I think that's a process question. I don't wanna
First
assume-
we
Oh,
have
we
to-
have to ask.
We have to find out from
We
Steve.
told, I'm just
All right.
speculating here, so don't anybody put any reliance on
I've
anything
got a
I've
note
said.
to myself,
That sounds
process
equitable.
Steve, talk through
Yeah.
to all or
Yeah.
to one.
You know,
Yeah.
how do you do that, or
I mean,
do you do that?
I think that we could say to Practical Energy Solutions, you know, your last line is that you say you can provide support throughout the planning process for additional outreach and that kind of thing. Could you tell us more about that? Because that opening is there in their proposal, that they can do more.
I think that goes back to the process question. We could do
Right.
what you just said if the process allows us to have individual conversations with each bidder.
Yeah.
But if we have to do a all is equal, you know,
Right.
everybody gets the same
affected by it,
email
yeah.
blast, then
Yeah.
we can't.
Which
I don't think
isn't
we
a
can
horrible
do
thing,
it.
I'll bet that
I
happens
don't
all the
think
time,
so,
but again,
no.
I'm just speculating.
Well,
Yes.
and I'm just, go back to Steve and ask.
Yep.
Right.
And I wonder, would it be useful for whoever we choose to also have them come to the Board of Commissioners meeting when we're selling this?
That's a
It-
question.
That's an excellent process
It's in their
question.
interest.
Yes.
Because it's
Yeah.
not going
Process
anywhere.
question, yeah.
They could defend themselves.
And definitely.
Well, we gotta be conscious of what position we're putting them in.
Well,
Yeah,
this is,
but when the people have come to the Willows to ask for money, the company is there.
I think it's
They're opposing it,
I think
so.
it's a very normal thing to ask. I mean, they have the most specific information.
Sure.
Right.
Um,
Sorry, can I just ask what you were saying, Katrina? I didn't quite.
Oh, I was just saying, to ask to include in their proposal, to come to the Board of Commissioners meeting when we're asking for funding.
Sound okay?
Does that sound okay?
Once they're selected
Oh.
though, right? After they're selected?
Well, I guess
I
you
don't-
could
I can't-
ask them to
I don't know how you
write
could
in.
let
Well,
them.
that's
I don't
what
know.
I have to
Yes,
ask
Okay,
Steve.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I don't.
Well,
Steve.
yeah, they would have to be selected.
If we choose.
Yeah, they
if-
don't, otherwise they get to have an
Well,
audience that nobody
if-
else. Yeah.
Right.
Steve presents the resolution, and it's got all the prices, and we say
We
we've chosen X, then is it appropriate for X to make their case to the Board of Commissioners? I don't know that answer.
I doubt it.
That's part of my note to Steve.
And Sarah, on that score, I mean, is, if, I guess another question, if, for folks maybe to consider is, are there other aspects of their proposal that we could recommend that the commissioners ask them to consider having them add? So, you know, if there was a feeling that they needed to beef up their stakeholder engagement as well as their community education, then is it possible that the green team could recommend to the commissioners that they negotiate, you know, that addition to their, you know, to the contract? I mean, if that's a piece that others, you know, see as where they could, you know, sort of beef up, maybe that's not a concern, but is that a way to go about it, is have, since the commissioners will be the ones deciding on the contract, you know, are there pieces they would want to negotiate up sort of fuller picture?
I don't think we'd want to leave that up to the commissioners.
I'm
think
not
I
sure.
second that.
We're really the experts on this at this point, you know, and we've really put a lot of time and effort into it, and you know, to turn it over to the commissioners who haven't read any of the proposals or really
Probably
know
will.
any of the thinking that goes behind it, I would be very reluctant to say, to turn that over to them.
Yeah, my only point was if it's not possible for us to go directly to them because of the process, to ask for them to augment what they've.
Right.
That was my point. If that was another way to go about it.
Duly noted.
If I might, I would just like to say, I'm encouraged because I guess I don't know what I thought we would hear, but there weren't 5 separate number ones. You know, there seemed to be
There's
some,
pretty much
some
consensus.
grouping and consensus. I think that yourself and Robin, I think you brought up great points about your votes for number 1, and I'm encouraged. I was concerned there would be a lot of churn, but I think I think the path is open to a good decision and a clear decision, and that's great.
Yeah, and I would be very
Yeah,
amenable
Yes.
if there were more hands-on,
Yeah,
you know.
if your concerns are addressed,
Yes.
whoever we pick.
Yes.
Yeah, can I get that?
And your concerns, Katrina, are?
I think they need more interaction. We need more help with the education, with
The
the
stakeholder
engagement.
Yes,
Or stakeholder
definitely.
engagement.
Community
support.
engagement, yeah.
And community
Is it
engagement.
community or is it stakeholder?
Well,
Well, the community
Both.
isn't
I think of
The
them as the same.
early education, not just educating about the ETP, but also.
Could you not use acronyms? I don't know
Oh,
what
the
the
energy transfer.
EDP is.
The energy transition plan.
Yeah.
ETP, sorry. I think, Ruth, you mentioned it too, engagement at the shareholder level. We should maybe flesh that out more
Yes.
with practical solutions. And if it means additional charge, so be it.
Yeah.
And the same with, as they already have in their proposal, is early education of the public of what we're up to.
Okay, and Robin, your concern that what you would like that comes out of Mondo is?
Oh, their strengths were the stakeholder engagement in particular and the verification.
Verification.
Yes.
Can I just make one other point, and that is, I guess it's not surprising that there's a very heavy focus on all of them on buildings, as opposed to like the transportation sector. And so
Heavy focus on what?
The built environment?
heavy
Oh.
focus on buildings, the built
Buildings.
environment.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah.
transportation. And I imagine that the green team, with whoever is chosen, can work with them to ensure that transportation is part of their stakeholder engagement conversations, so that they do, sort of build that into, what they're trying to, model and build up.
Right, Robin. I think this is the first of hopefully many RFP proposals that will happen in this process, because
You're going to scare the commissioners.
Yeah, yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Well, don't tell them.
We're having to hit the low-hanging fruit in terms of existing buildings now, in terms of selling this whole process. They're well aware we're talking about transportation and heating in the future, but that is, I think, a tougher nut to crack. It's going to have to occur not just here, but in the national level. But I agree, we should have some guidance on what to wait for and what steps to take to encourage innovation in transportation and heating.
So
And some of that's going to depend on developing technology.
Right.
Example, the company that Volvo is setting up to develop Wi-Fi charging for commercial vehicles. They won't have to stop. They'll enter a zone and be recharged. Well, that's 476.
Yeah.
Um,
The New Jersey Turnpike.
Well, fortunately, that's not within Radnor Township.
No.
Yeah, anyway.
And cars, and the current political situation is a negative towards that. So I agree it should begin to be addressed, and it may be my failing that I just see a miasma when I think about transportation.
Combined heating and power, Ruth brought up the example of upgrading her heat pump, and you're going to show cost savings from just your case. And that's, I mean, you could convert a house from fossil fuel heat to a heat pump with some cost, but certainly new construction can be followed that way.
I just wanted to follow up with Robin on the Mondre selection. If you, like we were talking about the opportunity, if the process allows to get clarification from the bidders, were there any points of clarification you would request from Mondre?
Yeah.
Or were you content with their proposal as is?
I'm content with it as is. I mean, I realize it's a Cadillac proposal and, it's not likely to be done, but I didn't have any specific objections to it.
Okay.
You do have concerns about practical energy solutions, though, compared to Mondre. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was concerned in particular about the staff, just
Right.
their bandwidth and also the stakeholder engagement just didn't seem to be, enough of a commitment of time and energy.
Right.
And that could be, again, if the process allows, that could be a generic question that we ask all bidders. Please
Yes.
reaffirm the availability of your key personnel during the time of, what do you call it, during the period of execution, period of performance.
Yep.
Well, for Mondre, I had said that they did not address education.
Right.
And so I tried to look at what they had, a link in here to education and healthcare. So that was Exhibit 2. And it really didn't address educating the public. So I was kind of concerned about that.
Yep.
And then I also said very little detail on what they would do for us. Very good staff qualifications, but I think they were one who's, so the deliverables was on page 22. They just listed the deliverables.
They didn't really elaborate at all.
They didn't go into detail about how they would.
They lost major points for me on that.
Yeah, how they would do that. So, anyway,
They're used to working for a different client, I think.
I think so, yeah.
It's not a complex, woolly thing like a township.
I just wanted to go back to the transportation idea that Robin was talking about. Yes, it is a big issue, but there are little inroads that the township can make. Have the plug-ins.
EV chargers.
Right, have the township vehicles, some of them battery,
Sure.
there are things.
That's right.
Well, and part of the baseline would be how many how many vehicles are in the township fleet today? What is their greenhouse emissions today? How much do we spend on maintenance for a police car over the length of its car? And would a plug-in vehicle, although it's higher upfront cost, pay for itself in no oil changes, et cetera, over the life of the vehicle? And so someone could make a business case about at least township-owned vehicles, if not.
Right.
You take a survey
Well,
and
I think
estimate
you
this many
start
vehicles in the
with
township. Right.
vehicles.
Yeah.
Right.
And the buses.
Well, I think you can also say that we need a more walkable community, because I can't walk here
Right.
without risking my life.
Right.
And I think that's not good. You ought to be able to walk to your township building without taking your life in your hands. And I like to walk, and I would walk, but
Familiar with walking.
know, I get in my car.
Establishing
and
paths
go
around a township.
probably
Yeah.
a mile.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Gee, we
they
had such
do,
foresight
they
in
do
27
have
years
this
ago,
whole
didn't we, on it?
trail proposal that they're spending a great deal of money on. But
Right.
it does not address,
No, there's no
that.
sidewalk down either.
Simple things like
so you
sidewalks,
can't-
or although you'd
things
have
like
to condemn
sidewalks.
property. I mean, this one stretch here,
Yes,
you know,
does.
that between
Yeah.
the bridge and
Yeah.
Brookside, I guess it is. I mean, otherwise, there's all through South, you know, it's wonderful, and then you get to there and to Brookside, and there's,
Yep.
but
At least
it- what
Brookside
it
has
is,
the
it's
width
an
to it.
issue to raise.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to, I guess we just have to evaluate as a committee, does that fit within the scope of what we're asking? I'm not opposed to it, and I think somewhere it should be part of a township master plan, but if
Right.
it's not already, but,
I
It
don't
has-
think it's part of this RFP.
No.
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 yeah.
That's-
Doesn't mean they can't work independently.
The rating for 100.
Right. It can be a goal.
I was thinking
Yes.
about it.
And honestly, guys, we need to get younger people on this group
Yeah.
because we aren't gonna be around when we're executing sidewalks or
2030.
executing electric vehicles.
Right, 2030.
Right.
You just keep taking your vitamins.
Yeah.
Well, I
That's
know.
right.
It's only 16 years away,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I'll be around.
Well, I don't know that I'll be around either.
Okay, happy thoughts.
All right,
Okay.
so
It's just
are,
realistic.
so are we agreed that I will go back to Steve and talk to him about process?
Mhm.
Part of the process being understanding, do we come up with a clarification that goes to everybody or to the one we're zeroing in on? If we choose A, whoever A is it copacetic that they then make a presentation to the Board of Commissioners
Or at least be there when
Be there
we make
to- as
to
part of that
work the money
presentation.
out of them? And there are other aspects that we do or don't get the BOC involved to add certain elements. Is that where we are right now?
Yeah.
I think so.
Can I just ask, Sarah, would it not be appropriate to ask Steve, or were we seeing if there was a possibility of having practical energy solutions, enhance their proposal, adding a few thousand that would, that would enhance it? Is that what, I'm not sure I'm hearing that.
I think that's what we're trying to achieve. The question
Yeah.
is, how do we do that? Do we have to, if we say something to them, do we have to say it to all? Or does the process allow us to talk only to them?
Okay, I just
But
wasn't
yes,
sure if we
spot
were
on.
willing
Yeah.
to sort of boost their
Yeah.
cost slightly to.
Right.
Yeah.
So that goes into this, and obviously I'll have a copy to everybody, to this thing that I write Steve. Hopefully we get the answer, so should we plan to meet next week?
Let me see what my computer says I'm doing. What am I on? That'll be October 1st?
Well, whatever next week
Wow.
Tuesday is.
Yeah,
Yep.
October 1st. Yeah, wow. time goes by.
Wow. Yeah,
Speaking
I'm
for
good.
myself, I could meet.
I'm good.
Is Monday a possibility? Oh, Monday's the.
No, it won't be commissioners.
It's the,
So you want it October 1st or you want it the 30th?
Which,
I could do either.
I'm unable to do
The
Oh, okay.
first is better for me.
all right, okay, there it is.
I check that with Ian and let you know, because that, in a way, really
That's the
works, because whereas the commissioners were supposed to have had a meeting, not yesterday, but a week before, to talk about the budget, I don't know what happened, but it was canceled. So they have not really started with the budget. So we get in on the ground floor. We had talked about submitting it on the 21st of October. The earlier we get in, I think, the better we are.
Well, the cement's still wet.
Yes.
Can that will be like an hour meeting, or are we, I mean, how many?
It
It
may be,
doesn't
it
have
may
to
be
too long.
much shorter.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not a definite, it's maybe.
Well, I have to check it with Ian, but nobody meets, only the school board meets in the township building on Tuesdays, and we're upstairs while they're downstairs.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Robin?
Very cool.
Will you be back next Tuesday?
Sounds great, I will be, and what a great conversation this evening.
Well, I think it's amazing that en général, as my Haitian teacher used to say, we've really come to an agreement of who we'd like to have. I also have heard she's very excited about the possibility, but that's neither here nor there.
The jury will disregard.
The jury will disregard the statement. So next step is to clear this with Ian and write Steve and tell him we're gonna meet next week, and let's see if I can shake the tree that he would join us, but if we can't, we can't. As he says, Sarah, this is your project.
All right, we'll just find out.
Having a mayor as the head of your consultant effort is scary. All kinds of mess could happen in Chester suddenly.
No, not Chester.
I mean,
Westchester.
Westchester,
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
Please be
Westchester.
clear, and do you
Yes.
know why it's called
Oh,
Westchester?
yes,
Because the Delaware County seat, the Chester County, Chester was in Chester County,
Okay.
and Chester was the seat.
County
And
seat.
when Chester became part of Delaware County, then it went to west of Chester.
And it went down the tubes.
Well, Chester, Port Chester,
Yeah, that's,
which my
Okay.
ancestor got the royal grant from the Queen of Sweden for what was called Upland, which was Chester and the surrounding territory.
Well, then you have some leverage.
What?
Do we wanna stop recording, or?
Well, now that we're
You
going
don't wanna
into-
go into Sarah's family
Sarah's